Today we're going to interview Dr. Roger Robinson, who is an 85 runner that when he was young, he won the Boston Marathon. His knees were off, and after a lot of pain, he decided to do a knee replacement on both of his knees. After that, he came back to win the 5K American Championship. He did a great career, and we're going to talk about all his success because he is really an example for all of us. Let's see how he did that.
So, first of all, how old are you?
I'm 85.
85. Okay.
No, I don't believe it.
Me neither. Good. So, tell me, when did you start running?
I started running when I was a boy. I first started running seriously at high school, running cross country. I started running when I was a boy, started running when I was in high school, running cross country. And I love the cross country. I love the sense of that I was not only competing against the other runners, but I was competing against with the earth and running the hills and dealing with the different kinds of surface, running through sand, running through mud, running through whatever it is. I love that, and I still do, but I can't, of course, do it as well now at 85, unfortunately. You know, you lose your ability to run over really rough territory, and especially with two knee replacements.
Okay, so we want to talk about your knee replacement. What happened to your knees? Why did you decide to do that surgery? When did the problem started? How did it start it? And when was the time that you took the decision to go to a huge surgery?
I always run. I combine a serious running career with a career as a university professor. And I always loved the variety that gave me and the sense that I could get away for an hour in the middle of the day and get up to the top of the hills and be out of reach of the telephone. Why people run with their cell phones bewilders me. The whole point of running is to get away from the cell phone. But anyway, that's a personal view. So I ran cross country and rode through my 20s and 30s. I represented England in cross country. Then I moved to New Zealand to a university position and represented New Zealand in cross country. I think I'm the only person to have done that. When I turned 40, that was just at the time when, in America especially, the marathon was becoming very important. It was after Frank Short had won the Olympic gold medal, and suddenly every American wanted to run marathons, and I suddenly needed to run a marathon, as it were, to keep credibility as a runner. So then I ran some marathons, and I broke the over 40 record at Boston, and by running 2:20 at Boston, and I'd run a 2:18 at Vancouver, and kept running well with some injuries, of course, inevitably, Achilles tendon, calf muscle, different injuries, but nothing really career-ending. I was still running really well up to age 50. I had one of my best years at 50 and ran a 2:28 marathon at 50. And I ran it twice, in fact, both at Twin Cities and at New York. But then at about 51 or 52, my right knee began to hurt. And it became a challenge to avoid the pain. It became very hard to run downhill. And for a number of years, I kept running. I had some reasonable performances, but the performances declined. And when I was in my late 60s, I virtually stopped running. I'd certainly stopped racing. There were some years when I didn't run any races at all. For me, that was extraordinary. And so then the pain got so bad that the direct answer to your question is that I was at Athens, Greece. There for I think it was when we were there for the 2050th anniversary of the Battle of Marathon. And I was there as a speaker about the history of the marathon. And the marble steps in Athens hurt my knee so badly. I couldn't get around that city. It was terrible because it's all marble and big steps. And I said to my wife, Katherine, if this goes on, I'm going to be in a wheelchair in 5 years. So when I got back to New Zealand, I talked to the surgeon, who I talked to before, of course, about the pain in the knee, and we agreed that that was the time to have surgery. So I was, I think, 70. That knee is now 15 years old, so I was just over 70. And that was a partial. So that was that's the long story, Diego, and that was the exact circumstance that made me make the decision, because I just wasn't getting mobile anymore. I wasn't getting walk. Never mind run. So I talked to Dr. Goding, surgeon, and the decision was to have the surgery, though his advice was that that was going to be the end for running. And I can remember that morning going into the surgery and being really depressed and almost ready to run away and hide, because I didn't want to have the surgery, because, well, my legs were really important to me, and I felt I don't want to have that thing put into my. I was very resistant, but finally trusted him.
Is it running?
It was absolutely the right decision. Absolutely, no question. It was the right decision. When people come to me now, runners come to me and ask me about having knee surgery, I say, for 3 days, you will wish you hadn't done it, because the pain is so great. For the rest of your life, you'll be really glad that you did it. Because suddenly, in my case, I've been in pain for 20 years. People would tell me, oh, you're limping, and I'd say, yes, because it hurts. And so I'd lived with that pain for a long time, and suddenly to be without it is just wonderful.
Okay.
So, you guys, we're very grateful to you.
Thanks a lot. The thing is, you did the right knee surgery before?
That was the right knee.
And then when did the left came?
That was very strange. The only reason I could think that the right knee had worn was that as a boy in England, like every other boy in England, I wanted to play football for England. And so I spent the first 10 years of my life kicking footballs with my right foot. And then just like so that's the only reason I can think of as to why my right knee had worn out. I should say that career ended at the age of about 11, when I finally realized there were two problems. One, I was too small to play football for England, and the other was I had no talent. And I thought that would count against me at the top level in football. So I became a runner. That was the story. So then I started running, and the key advice to anybody that's thinking of having knee surgery is you will be able to run, but take it very, very, very slowly. Don't start running a week after the surgery. I waited 4 months, and the surgeon had said don't run, and at that time that was the right advice. And I was out for a walk, one of my walks, and I thought, well, if I'm going to walk for 3 hours, why don't you? I just sort of forgot.
Yeah, and trusted the process, because you didn't start with something big. You tried with whatever you could do, and after 1 day or 2 or a week, we're gonna top it, and then what you did is running again.
I've got this system. When you're starting running after serious injury or surgery, I run for, well, first of all, just 10 paces, and then 20 paces, and then 1 minute, and then if you add 1 minute every few days, so you're running 2 minutes, not together, but minute, walk, minute, and then minute, walk, minute, and keep building up, and then gradually joining them together. After about 2 months, you're running for half an hour. It's amazing how quickly it builds up, but you mustn't rush it. You know this, because
Exactly.
the leads, the muscles around the new prosthesis have got so much work to do to adjust to that completely new thing that you can't ask them to do it overnight. You've got to build up very, very slowly. So then I got, after the first move, and after about 2 years of running, I got back up to a level where in my age group, which at that time was 70 to 75, I was winning. I wasn't eligible for an American championship, but I won the American 5K championship for my age group. I couldn't take the title because I wasn't a citizen, but I was allowed to run in a race. So that's the level I was getting to. I was running 22 minutes for 5K at 77. And had a really good year or two. And then quite suddenly, and it was really peculiar, quite suddenly the other knee started to hurt without any warning at all. And I had to go to a surgeon, and we tried injections and we tried other things, and none of it worked. And by now I was 77, 78. So I thought, if I'm to have any more running in my life at this age, I better get on and do this surgery quickly. I can't wait 15 years this time. So I saw an American surgeon. He was very understanding because he was a triathlete. That's partly why I went to him. He was a 45-year-old triathlete, so he understood my wish to get back to running, even though I was so old. And so we went ahead and did the surgery. And that time it had to be a full replacement, total knee replacement. I asked him to make it only a partial if he could. And he was so considerate that during the surgery, he actually took pictures with a cell phone to show me how bad it was inside, and showed it to me afterwards. So then I began to build up again. And of course, that's basically another year out of full training. So of course, you're never going to get back to the level where you were, but you can perhaps get back close to the level where you would have been anyway with the aging process, because you're going to be slowing down. And that time, I didn't get back to 22, but I got back to 25 minutes, and now I was 80. And then what really pleases me is that the World Cross Country Championship was in Australia, and we were in our New Zealand home at that time. So I thought, this is too good a chance to miss, even though I don't really run cross country anymore. So I went and ran that, and I won the over 80 championship. And I thought, to do that on 2 knee replacements on a pretty tough cross country course.
Yeah, really tough.
It was a very tough course with very steep hills and sand and all kinds of stuff in it. Kind of course I would have loved. Yes,
which is tough enough.
It was, yes. So, the moral of the story really is, yes, you can get back to running after knee replacements, but only if you get back sensibly, slowly, build up. There are stories, there's a top American marathoner, I won't name it, but he won some important marathons in the 1980s, had to have knee replacements, and he's kept running much too soon. And now he's had really serious infection, because he's had, I think, 3 or 4 more replacements because he runs too soon. It just doesn't work. You can't rush it. You just got to give the body time. But you can do it. And I'm still running now at 85. Not as fast.
No, I mean, but for your age, as you said, time goes by. It's not like you started where you left it, because aging is a process that doesn't stop.
It is absolutely inevitable.
I have just one more thing to add. Since a knee replacement is a radical procedure where we have to cut the bones to get all the joints and change it, replace it completely. And we work with muscles and ligaments. What do you think about being a runner nowadays, that we have so many other options with more science and more technologic procedures that can help us to make longer the lives of our knees or our joints? What do you think about it? Do you think that if you would be nowadays a 70 or 65-year-old runner, would something else would be an option for you? Or would you go through a knee replacement just without thinking?
I'd never go through it without thinking, because it's a huge surgery. My American doctor, who's also a good running friend, said to me, "Oh, well, virtually they amputate your leg."
Yeah, after 3 or 4 replacement, like
But I said, Marty, that's not very reassuring.
yeah, that doesn't help.
But I'm well aware of how major it is. And so it's certainly not something that you should do without very careful thought and looking at all the alternatives. With the second one, the American surgeon and I tried the injections, I think 3 times, and it gave me a little relief, but not that it enabled it to run. And on that occasion, I did make the decision, not hastily, but I said, let's do it. Let's do it sooner rather than later, because otherwise I don't do it until I'm 83 then or more. So we moved on quickly then. If there was something that I could take, say, that wasn't a performance enhancing drug, that wasn't going to compromise, my status and the fairness, my fairness in competition, because I'm not willing to go anywhere there. But if there's a natural product that I can take that would have extended the lifetime, absolutely, why not? You'd be crazy not to. I always think people like you are the scientists. If we ignore science, how stupid are we? Because we've got all this work that people are doing on our behalf, and if you just pretend it doesn't exist, and if you're an anti-vaxxer or something, I'm sorry, but you're just ignoring the reality, and you're wasting the work of talented people who are dedicating themselves to trying to make your life better.
Evidence. What we love the most, evidence.
It's
right?
all about evidence, and if I'm a little evidence, then I'm really pleased. As I've said, the first surgeon, and quite rightly, his advice was, don't run on it. I eventually did successfully. He then did some further research, read a lot more, and he's come round to my view, and in fact he wrote a book partly about me, and it talked about his change in view, and how this had helped to change his view. And I wrote an article about getting back to running, and the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons sent me a media award. Apparently they have an annual media award, and I didn't know that, but I won it for this article. So basically, you would know better than I, the science is changing. I'm not saying it has changed, but as I understand it, in my simple runner's way, the thought was that if you engaged in impactive exercise, that is exercise which would cause stress up the leg, that might dislodge the prosthesis. That doesn't seem to happen. The reality seems to be that by doing that impactive exercise, you improve your bone density and you improve the muscles. Therefore, the prosthesis is less likely to get dislodged. That's my understanding of it, and I think science, I'm pretty sure science is moving in that direction, and you're an example of that. And if I can help you move it forward, then I'm delighted.
Thank you very much, Roger. It was a really delightful information, really nice story to tell, and thank you very much for everyone to see how knee replacement is not an ending story for your running career.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you to you and everybody else in Mexico for making this so well.
Thank you very much.